All right, here we go. Let's see if the third time's a charm because I keep going over the time limit. All right, so my name is Kayla Bailey, and I did my field experience and this final video project based off self-mentoring. So here we go. Maybe not. There we go. All right, so in Dr. Carr's book, she talks a lot about self-awareness. And self-awareness basically just, talks about like your environment, so, and for me, my environment is a school. What's the dynamics of the school? What things do you not know that other people might know and might be able to help you learn? What strengths do you bring? So I really focused in for this on my strengths and what strengths I see myself as having, just to, flow through this presentation. So for me, my strengths, and as you can see, I've put down my ranks, so I'll just read my strengths and the ranks in the order, and then I'll go to my colleagues' order. But for me, my number one strength was trustworthy, my number two was ethical, 3 was honest, 4 was humorous, and 5 was, responsible or responsibility. And then my colleague, I did 2 colleagues where, one was, I did 2 colleagues, I actually did 3, but for colleague 1, the ranks were trustworthy, honest, ethical, responsible, then humorous. And then for colleague 2, it was humorous, ethical, trustworthy, and then honest, trustworthy, honest, and then responsible. That's a mistake in there, but whatever. We're just gonna move on from that. But yeah, so self-awareness, dial in. And from that, I decided to create an expectation on communication and being able to communicate with my peers or my colleagues or co-workers efficiently and effectively, just because I've had some experiences. I haven't been there long, but I've had some experiences as a first-year teacher where people try and like walk all over me, or I feel less, not necessarily valued, but I feel like my ideas might be less valued. So I decided this was going to be my expectation. Self-development, it just focused on like, how are you going to develop this expectation into a plan? What's your plan? And so forth and so on. And then I decided to focus this on measurable strategies. Number 1 was audio recordings. I didn't really get that just because some of the information was sensitive and, more classified. But then I did schedule meetings and writing down information from meetings with colleagues, reflections from each colleagues, and then rankings or scales. I really focused more on the scales / rankings. It's kind of like a combined duo thing, So then from that, we'll go into self-reflection, which is where my colleagues did reflections. They said I definitely questioned myself and my ideas when communicating with them. And we had some issues with our special needs students coming into the health classroom. That's a story, but just basically in a meeting that we had with the special ed teachers, they said that I wasn't necessarily talkative or assertive, and I was just going to let them walk all over me. So for the scale, you can see it's all pretty, most of them are not like low, but they're not like the assertiveness and the effectiveness and the efficiency isn't high either. They're just kind of in the middle. And I really wanted to focus on bringing those up throughout this field experience. But for the final assessment, he said that I still question myself sometimes when I talk to them, or him specifically, but I've improved. Colleague 1's actually a 25-year veteran, so in the teaching profession, so that's kind of why I think I question myself a little bit more with him. But in the second meeting, I became more assertive and more effective in the communication that I was bringing, the ideas or the concerns that I had. So he's basically saying like I was not going to let them walk all over me that time, and that's why my assertiveness and my effectiveness like improved. My efficiency is still kind of low, so I can continue to work on that. And then in the for my colleague too, for his first assessment, he noticed that I questioned myself a lot, and he said that working on your confidence is going to bring that up. So walking into a room with your head held high and these ideas that you have, because they are good ideas, you just question yourself. So walk in there confident in the idea that you have, and tell me that you're doing this rather than questioning whether or not you should do this. And then ask me, do you want to participate in this? Not say, is this a good idea for us to do? The same thing, I was quiet in the meeting with the special ed teachers, and I was just going to let them walk all over me. Again, the assertiveness and the effectiveness and the efficiency were all middle ground. But in the final assessment, he said I was more sort of like, I would walk into the room with ideas like, this is what I'm going to do this week. This is how I'm going to do it. You can join in if you want to, but this is what I'm doing. You don't have to do it, but I'm definitely doing this. And he said that like the ideas were good, and he was agreeing to come and do this. And then he said with the second meeting with the special ed teachers, I definitely, made myself more heard, and I definitely got my feelings out there. Like I was not going to let them walk all over me during that meeting, and I was not going to let them, try and do something that I didn't agree with. And so as you can see on the final scale, there's still a lot of room for improvement, but I did improve. So going from self-reflecting and collecting all that data, Dr. Carr's book said the next thing you should do would be to self-monitor yourself and decide whether or not you wanted to self-monitor and whether or not you would reach your expectation and had it going like where you can keep it like at a steady pace, like you were not going to like ever go back to the way you were before. And I felt like I definitely wasn't at that point yet. So I decided that I was going to continue to self-monitor myself. I was going to continue to work on my expectation. So yeah, I think throughout this field experience, I learned a lot. I think I can use, self-mentoring throughout my career, and it'll be interesting to see where I am, from using self-mentoring 5 years down the road, and then again, maybe 25 years down the road. So yeah, thank you so much for this and this opportunity. It was great. And I appreciate it. And I really enjoyed this class. Now, if I can get this thing to, stop recording. Oh.